CNBC.com reports average age of first time homebuyers is 38, an all time high. Here's what that says about the real estate market. All right, I don't need to tell you that everything sucks and we live in hell, but we are in the universe where the bad guys won. Okay, first time homebuyers in the US are getting older. The median first time homebuyer has reached an all time high age of 38 years old, 3 years older than in July 2023, according to the National Association of Realtors, blah, 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 blah. In the 1980s, the typical first time buyer was in their late 20s. Okay, so even as recently as the 80s, you were somewhat young, you could have a future. Real estate wasn't just an investment vehicle for boomers and people who are already wealthy. It was something else. Is this triggering a memory for you? Because as soon as I read this, my mind went to that scene in It's a Wonderful Life. Okay, let's watch it. Let's watch it. Okay, here we go.
You said that what'd you say just a minute ago? They had to wait and save their money before they even thought of a decent home? Wait for what? Until their children grow up and leave them? Until they're so old and broken down that do you know how long it takes a working man to save $5,000?
All right, so if you haven't seen this scene, if you don't know this movie, then what I want you to do is close this podcast and never listen to me again. But anyway, it's the hero of the story, George Bailey, kind of not quite working class, but average guy in the city. Classic story. I'm not going to explain the plot of It's a Wonderful Life to you, but he's talking to Mr. Potter, the mean old bastard, the Ebenezer Scrooge character, who he fights throughout the whole movie. It's economic warfare. Potter is clearly the bad guy, piece of shit. He wants to control everything. Wants, he doesn't want prosperity in the town. He only wants prosperity for himself. Blah 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 blah. So there's the hero George Bailey telling him, and he's addressing exactly this. Potter says they should have to wait to buy a home. He says wait till their children have already grown up. Blah 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 blah. It's exactly what we're talking about here. Now, average home buyer is 38. In the 80s, it was late 20s. In the 40s, who knows? In the 40s, you probably got a home at 15. In the 40s, you and your parents built one. You had an Amish barn raising. I don't know. But it was expected that you'd be able to just have a normal working class job, buy a home. You get a mortgage, you buy a home, you raise your family in the home. By the time you're older, the home is paid off. Beautiful thing, right? And I think everybody, and especially conservatives who want traditional values, would say that that's a good thing, right? You talk about low birth rates, you talk about women working instead of being in the home. Well, they have to. The economy's all fucked up. The labor's all fucked up. Affordable housing should be a right-wing issue. If you want strong families, affordable housing is a huge part of that. Right? Okay. But no. We've got Ben Shapiro from the Daily Wire. It's no secret how I feel about the Daily Wire and about Ben Shapiro. So unfortunately, I couldn't find the actual clip on the Daily Wire. I really looked for it. So unfortunately, the clip I have is the Majority Report with Sam Seder. So Sam Seder is some left-wing cuck faggot. I don't really watch him. I know that he humiliated Steven Crowder once, which I do like because I hate Steven Crowder. Well, I shouldn't. There are things that I liked about Steven Crowder. I did like when he was caught on his Ring camera humiliating his pregnant wife and berating her. Now that I liked. I was a fan of when he did that. So I can't say I'm a total hater. Not a hater at all. I like some of his work. I did like that. But in general, not a huge fan. Oh, his work on Arthur. He was, and this is not a joke. I swear to God, go look this up. He was the voice of the brain on Arthur, the children's animated show Arthur, when he was a kid. That's not a joke. I'm not making that up. Go look that up. This came up. If you've ever thought about Kwanzaa, remember when, like, Kwanzaa is a holiday that black people celebrate on PBS, but not in real life. It's not an actual thing. I mean, regardless of was Kwanzaa made up, oh, all holidays are made up. You can forget that whole debate. It doesn't exist. You're not going to actually meet a black person in real life who celebrates that holiday. But the brain celebrated it on Arthur because the smart one has to be coded as black. But the voice of the brain was Steven Crowder. I'm not 100% sure if he was the voice of the brain for that episode. Maybe he'd already moved on at that point. I don't know the timeline, but that's true. That's actually true. So anyway, we're stuck with Sam Cedar, who's some left-wing guy. I don't care. But the left wing is more right than the Daily Wire is, and he very properly pointed this out. So I'm going to give him credit here. This is his video where he's clipped in what Ben Shapiro says about It's a Wonderful Life. Now, this pisses me off to no end. Here, let's listen.
Now, also, Lionel Barrymore is correct. So on a financial level, the villain of this piece is actually the hero because if Jimmy Stewart actually gets his way, all of Bedford Falls collapses in the subprime mortgage crisis. Basically, Jimmy Stewart keeps giving out loans without proper checking into the credit history of the people he's giving loans to based on his sort of assessment of their own personal viability financially. Lionel Barrymore is much more by the numbers. Lionel Barrymore is a better banker, and that
Lionel Barrymore is a better banker. Mr. Potter is actually the hero. You know what would actually happen if people were allowed to have homes? You know what it'd actually be like? Yeah, do you know what it would actually be like if Israel had to make its own goddamn smart missiles and didn't just buy them from the US? How about that, Ben, you fucking faggot? Jesus Christ, I hate this guy. Here's what I hate the most about Ben Shapiro. I was talking to a guy who I just know in my real life, and we got along real well. We still get along. Nice guy. I like him. And he mentioned that he's quite a left-wing guy. I said, oh, okay, interesting. Actually, I'm pretty conservative, actually. And then as soon as I said that, he mentioned something about Ben Shapiro. And it's like, Ben Shapiro is not, and I said, well, no, I hate Ben Shapiro. I hate the Daily Wire. I hate everything about them. And he was like, oh, interesting. Like, that's unique. Like, no, it's not. Ben Shapiro is what they want conservatism to be. Ben Shapiro is the worst human being on earth. Ben Shapiro says, oh, look at this video of disgusting transgender gender goblin teaching these kids, and then it comes out a few months later that they were doing some weird sexual thing and they got fired. And yes, of course, everyone who's sane should be against that. But then he slips in, like he uses that to launder this pro-Israel, pro-capitalist bullshit. And it's like, I don't care about capitalism. I don't care. I want protections for American workers. I want the nation to protect workers. So I'm not going to go into the whole H-1B thing. It's been talked about to death. And I just want to be zoomed out a little bit, not zoomed into any specific issue. We can just zoom out. Well, I did zoom into a specific issue. It's this home ownership one. But it's the same thing. The society shouldn't be based around us just making the line go up. Better investments, better... No, I don't care if the GDP goes up. Can people get homes? How are you supposed to have any conservative values at all if people can't buy a home until they're 38? What are they supposed to do? Okay, you don't, if you're a certain kind of Christian, you don't want them to have sex until they get married. Okay, so when can they get married? Oh, they can get married when they have a home. Okay, when can they have a home? 38. Hey, why is the birth rate low? Like, what are we talking about here? What are we talking about? Can we remake It's a Wonderful Life with Ben Shapiro as the villain? Could you do that with AI? Maybe that'll be a goal for next Christmas. I'd like to see that.